Hello everyone, my name is Gabriele Torelli. I work as a EASA Project Certification Manager for the VTOL section, and I'm a VTOL focal point for accidents and safety recommendations. I'm really pleased to present an overview about safety recommendations allocated to EASA, especially providing you with information about the way they are managed, showing some general statistics with a focus on the ones that are VTOL related, and finally providing some interesting data about draft accident reports received by the agency for review and comment. I would like to start this presentation delivering the following key message. The agency assigns a high priority to the follow-up of safety recommendations and has established effective procedures to ensure transparency with respect to its decisions and actions in line with its missions for safety. In fact, it is a responsibility of our executive director, as defined in the Regulation 996/2010, to support safety investigations, to review draft safety investigation reports, to follow up safety recommendations, and to follow up safety action projects as tasked by the EASA Safety Committee. In this context, an internal safety investigation response committee has been created. This interdisciplinary group of experts, meeting together every 6 weeks, have been tasked to address safety issues related to recommendations and accident investigations, and specifically to internally allocate safety recommendations, to monitor their status, to approve initial replies within the 90 days deadline, and to approve intermediate and closure replies. On top of these internal activities, the agency also supports effective cooperation in safety investigations by working with the European Network of Civil Aviation Safety Investigation Authorities in the Working Group 6 for safety recommendations, monitor safety recommendations that are issued to other aviation and non-aviation addressees, and cooperates with member states and industry through collaborative analysis groups and advisory bodies. Main outcomes of EASA mentioned activities, internal and external, in the field of accident incident investigation and follow-up are summarized in the EASA Annual Safety Recommendation Review, a report released by our colleagues of the EASA Safety Intelligence and Performance Department, and I really thank them for that, that provides general statistical data on recommendation addressed by safety investigation authorities to the agency, information on replies that the agency has given to past recommendations, and the main safety issues that have been addressed through the actions taken by EASA. Let's move on to some general statistics, starting from an overview on recommendation addressed to EASA per year in the last decade. It is worthy to remark that EASA is the most frequent single addressee of safety recommendations. Looking at this graph, the annual number of safety recommendations addressed to the agency kept an almost constant trend in the years from 2012 to 2016. In 2017, this amount fell by around half, showing a drop with downward trend, reaching the lowest number in 2020, when EASA has only received 32 safety recommendations. This trend is even more pronounced if the safety recommendations issued by EASA member states investigators are considered alone. They are 26. To be noticed that overall, 4 safety recommendations were rotorcraft related. This safety recommendation drop, highlighted by the graph, can mostly be attributed to the following factors. The European aviation system is becoming increasingly more oriented towards proactively identifying safety issues and implementing safety action that would otherwise be raised during investigations. Then the agency is frequently involved in the initial phase of drafting reports, leading to draft safety recommendations being discussed in advance and, in some cases, either withdrawn, revised, or readdressed as a result of this dialogue. Analyzing the annual safety recommendations by occurrence class since 2012, we can identify a downward trend on the ones linked to accidents since 2018. On the other side, a pretty stable fluctuation can be seen on recommendations linked to serious incidents. Overall, there is a big reduction on recommendations linked to incidents, studies, or other reasons that were much more common in the past. Focusing now on the original recommendations received by EASA in 2020, we can see that 81% of them were issued by EASA member states investigators, including the UK. There were 32 in total, addressing different subjects: product certifications, continuous airworthiness, air traffic management, air operations, flight crew, and safety risk management. 9 of them were released by UK investigators, 3 each by French, Italian, and Swedish investigators. 6 were coming from non-EASA states. Overall, in 2020, investigators from 17 different states issued these 32 recommendations to EASA that addressed issues within the EASA remit. In the same year, 2020, EASA also delivered 81 replies to safety recommendations. The vast majority of them were agency responses to recommendations first received in the years 2015 to 2019. This shows an evident progress on recommendations follow-up activities and, especially looking at the distribution of final replies, clear objective of the agency to positively close as much as possible backlog safety recommendations. Among the 81 replies that were sent by the agency in 2020, 38 were final replies that closed ongoing safety recommendations. The agency agreed to take corrective actions in 30 cases, either by directly applying the recommended actions, as was the case for 13 of them, or for the remaining 17, by partially agreeing but taking corrective actions other than those recommended. In a further 7 cases, the recommendations were evaluated and the safety benefit was not agreed. In 1 case only, the recommendation fell outside EASA mandate. It is also worthy to note the 43 replies linked to open recommendations that clearly shows the big effort put in place by the agency to always keep investigators fully up to date about the status and progress of undertaken safety actions. Among the 81 replies that were sent by the agency in 2020, 18 investigator assessments were received and almost all of them were in agreement, full or partial, with the corrective actions developed by the agency. Only 1 case was assessed as not adequate. 5 investigator assessments were also received out of the 38 final replies, and also in this case, the majority of them were positive. I would like to complete these statistics about safety recommendations by providing an overview on the ones addressed to EASA per topic by European investigators. As shown by the graph, 53% of them were associated with aircraft, equipment and facilities issues, 28% with procedures or regulations, 18% with personnel, and 3% only with quality management system, safety management system, or state safety programs. Amongst these recommendations, the European investigators classified 23 of them as being of union-wide relevance, so of EASA member state interest, and 20 of them as being of global concern, so of international interest. Let's move on now and review EASA progresses on VTOL design-related recommendations that are the ones directly led by our VTOL department. We have currently 4 recommendations still open, with a really positive trend in terms of recent recommendation closure. In fact, since 2020, we received 1 new recommendation, and on the other side, we closed 4 of them. In terms of age of open SRs, 2 are less than 3 years old, and 2 are between 3 and 5 years old. 2 are on track but stable, 2 are on track but showing evident progresses. The first table in this new slide shows the ones that are currently open, highlighting a variety of safety concerns raised by responsible investigators. For example, aerodynamic behavior and control laws, engine blade shedding issues, and fuel shutoff lever accidental activation. An example will be provided later on. The second table is, however, the one where it is worthy to focus a little bit more. In fact, it provides a summary of the previously mentioned recommendations that have been closed by our VTOL department last year. These recommendations raised safety concerns about really sensitive subjects: post-impact fire, dual hydraulic system issues, and impact-resistant seats issues. And their closure has been a big achievement for the agency. Also in this case, an example will be provided in the incoming slides. Let's start the examples from the recommendation A1611 raised by the American NTSB following the AS350B3E loss of tail rotor control after takeoff from a medical center helipad in Frisco, USA in 2015. In this case, one of the main safety concerns identified by the investigators was the post-impact fire. A strong cooperation amongst the industries, EASA and the FAA took place to improve post-impact fire protection in the in-service helicopter fleet. Crash-resistant fuel tank systems were certified via EASA-approved validated STCs or major changes on AS350 and AC-130 helicopters. Then an EASA safety information bulletin was released recommending CRFS installation. An SIB promotion has been then boosted by Airbus helicopters through retrofit campaign with incentives for operators. All these corrective measures have been put together in the EASA final reply to the NTSB, and the NTSB accepted the EASA position this year in August 2021. This has been a really great achievement for the agency. The second example I would like to present here is linked to the Open Recommendation 2018-014T raised by the Accident Investigation Board of Norway following the AS350B3 loss of control in over at low altitude in Hoyland, Norway in 2016. In this case, the main safety concerns identified by the investigators was the engine blades shedding. Strong cooperation took place amongst the EASA, Airbus helicopter and Safran helicopter engines to study technical solutions aiming to reduce the risk of unwanted power turbine blade shedding occurrences on rotorcraft equipped with the Ariel 2 engines, and hence reduce the potential for post-impact fire. So a FADEC software change consisting in a fuel shutoff in case of fuel turbine overspeed event to avoid engine blade shedding has been certified on AS350 and EC130 equipped with Ariel 2D engines. Following that, an EASA SIB has been released, recommending operators to embody the overspeed protection function. The SIB has been hugely promoted by Airbus helicopter and Safran helicopters engines through a retrofit campaign with incentives for operator. Now, additional design solution for the remaining AS350 and EC130 equipped with the Ariel 2B1 engines are ongoing, and their certification is on track by the end of this year. After having spoken about VTOL design-related recommendations, I would like to briefly give some information about EASA progresses on safety recommendations led by other EASA departments, but strongly supported by our VTOL department. We are currently working in support of 33 open recommendations. The majority of them, 15, are related to policies and innovation, and overall, they address several different subjects. Outcome of these activities are, for example, rulemaking tasks like the 0120 for teaching occupant survivability, or the 0725 for rotorcraft chip detection, or also research projects like the helicopter underwater escape or the integrity improvement or rotorcraft MGB. Indeed, I'm not going to go through all these open recommendations supported by our department, but I would like at least to take an example showing you a variety of treated subjects and their complexity that sometimes make this safety recommendation lasting in an open status for several years. A valid example can be the AC225LP LNOJF accident happened in Norway in 2016. Following this event, several recommendations were raised to EASA, and currently 8 of them are still open. Looking at the 2018 02T, 03T, and 08T, they were recommending EASA to improve critical parts management, and on the other side, they were also pushing to improve and amend the AMC to CS29 in order to highlight the importance of different modes of component structural degradation and relevant impacts on crack initiation, propagation, and fatigue life. These 3 recommendations are now all taken on board by the rulemaking task 0128, regular update of CS 2729. An internal consultation has been already concluded, and the relevant MPA is currently planned by Q3 2021. The relevant ED decision is currently planned by Q2 2022. Analyzing then the 2018 01T and 05T, they were recommending the agency to investigate crack development in high-loaded case-hardened bearings as a consequence of small surface damages, and to develop NGB certification specifications aiming to minimize catastrophic failure. These 2 recommendations are now addressed by the research project 0008 that has been launched in Q2 2020. Project leader is ZF Luftfahrttechnik GmbH, and the final report is currently planned by Q1 2023. Another one, the 2018 06T, recommended EASA to develop an helicopter ETOPS-like regulation for offshore and similar operations to improve reliability of systems whose failure could lead to a land immediately, for example, rotors and rotor drive system. Expert reviews are ongoing to address the topic and assess its feasibility. Another really important safety recommendation is the 2018 07T, recommending EASA to improve the continuous airworthiness management for critical components to better perform investigation and analysis of data related to failures, malfunctions, defects, and relevant reporting. This topic has been successfully addressed by the rulemaking task 0031. A specific ED decision has been released early this year to amend the AMC and GM to Part 21, issued to Amendment 11. The safety recommendation has then been closed, bringing a remarkable achievement for the agency. Then we are also working on the 2018-04T, recommending to revise CS29 to introduce a requirement for NGB chip detection system performance. This topic is taken on board by the rulemaking task 0725. The MPA has been released early this year, and the relevant ED decision is planned by Q4 2021. Finally, the last open recommendation, 2018-09, was pushing EASA to improve detection of components degradation in epicyclic planet gear bearings, and this is under review. The research project 0011 is a potential candidate to address this topic, but further discussion are still to be done on that respect. I'm almost at the end of the presentation, and I would like to finalize it providing you with an overview about accident reports received by the EASA VTOL department for review and comments in 2020 and 2021, up until the time this presentation is going to be delivered. You can notice that in 2020, 36 draft final accident reports were received by our VTOL department for review and comments, and 48 were finally released to the public. The trend in 2021 is even increasing, with 43 draft final accident reports received by our department for review and comments, and 31 finally released to the public. If we have a look to the global picture at EASA level, 397 draft final accident reports were received by the agency for review and comments. As you can easily understand, this is a huge number and requires an incredible effort across all affected EASA departments in terms of resources and working hours. However, once again, this huge effort makes clear that safety recommendations follow-up, safety investigations, and continued airworthiness in general are key priorities for the agency. Thanks a lot for your attention. Have a nice day and enjoy the symposium.